Loading. There it is.
William mentions in the chat, I don't know what this is in reference to, but he said 16 uninterrupted minutes of Spike wearing an Al Horford Appreciator shirt, which I actually thought about wearing tonight.
Pretty good. Sorry, go ahead.
I was looking through, I have a real closet now. It's very exciting. I can hang things in my closet. And I just used it for all my T-shirts. And I have a Ricky section. I was scrolling through it. And I stopped on the Al Horford one. I was like, maybe you should wear that. But I didn't.
Pretty impressive that he's very close to the timestamps of when we start the ads, if that's what he's inferring of 16 minutes uninterrupted. Because we don't really talk about the breakdown of that stuff. So.
Letting people behind the curtain.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, he's doing the work himself. I'm just confirming. Yeah, 16 minutes. That's about right.
About right, yeah. Well, I get ready to do it around 14:30, and then somehow Mike always seems to know when I'm going to do it. And then there's an extended thing that takes it to like 19, always.
That's where I hit my stride.
Yep.
No game. Just this is a fresh nighttime.
Yeah.
What did you guys have for dinner?
What'd you say?
Did you have dinner yet?
No.
It's pretty early for you. Spike, what'd you have for dinner?
I had what I like to call the Mike from BodyBio salad, as he suggested it to me once to clean out my insides. Well, a version of it. It's a salad with shaved Brussels sprouts, arugula. Then I add some avocado, Kalamata olives, a little bit of olive oil, crushed red pepper.
You make this yourself, or you order it?
Yeah, I make it myself. And then a veggie burger.
Nice.
And then I had a banana with peanut butter. You?
Pasta meatballs.
Oh, there you
classic.
Go. There you
reliable.
Go. Yeah.
There was the banana cut up, or you have a spoon of peanut butter and then you're eating the banana as well?
So I bring a jar of peanut butter with me, natural peanut butter with me to work every day because I have an apple with the peanut butter. So I grab that jar, slice the banana up, put little peanut butter on little slices of the banana, and ate it like that, like a little baby.
Respect.
Here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, proudly presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, who sent me this hat. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Mortgage CS. Become a Mortgage CS Ricky VIP at mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Kornblau Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. BodyBio, get 20% off any order. I have a BodyBio story later. 20% off any order at BodyBio with code FIRECJ. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. StatesideVodka.com. On the show today, Sixers, after their big win over the Bucks, somehow win back-to-back games over the Pacers and the Timberwolves. What? Barely breaking a sweat? What's going on? Joel Embiid making scoring look more easy than any Sixers player in history. Furk gets into a game. Big news for Live Ricky 5 as the Process Hall of Fame will make its return, and we will tell you how you can vote on the Process Hall of Fame. We'll, of course, finally get to the Ringer Top 100, and we get to some emails and voicemails. One email, I forgot to put it in the emails, complaining about the process still. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Big news. If we don't get to 10,000 subscribers by the time the playoffs start, CJ will actually be fired. We are at about 8650 right now. So if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure you follow the podcast. I did mention Stateside Urban Craft Vodka. I have not had alcohol since Lent began. I am excited for my first drink to be a Surfside. I'm trying to decide if I just want the normal Surfside iced tea and vodka. I think I want the iced tea and vodka and lemonade. The Arnold Palmer Surfside. It is the best iced tea and vodka there is. There's the peach one as well, and then they have the lemonade, the straight up Surfside lemonade and vodka. It's the best they make. Try it. None of the other ones compare. There's just the right sweetness. There's no carbonation because there's no carbonation in iced tea. You got to be 21 to drink it, though. Go to statesidevodka.com. to order. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who saw those two wins over Indiana and Minnesota, but all he really remembers is the wide open threes from both opponents. That is one, Mike Levin.
Nice wins.
Yeah.
Really nice wins. I was just I was in Vegas for one night with the writing staff of Young Rock, which all episodes are available on Peacock to watch and everything. And I was watching the Sixers game in Sportsbook. And they went up like 17 or 18 in the second half, and I was like, the live line was like 11.5 or something, and I was like, oh, Minnesota is coming back. Of course, this is free money. Like, I'm gonna just go win money. I think the Sixers will still win, but absolutely gonna let Minnesota back in the game, and they just didn't. And I was so happy to lose $20 on the Sixers holding on to a lead firmly. Playing some decent defense out of it. Yeah,
It's perfect, right? Yeah.
I got back a few hours ago, so I am. I'm pretty beat up. I'm pretty beat up. It was a late night. It was a late one. You got an email. You sent an email, Spike, when I was still awake from the night before. And I was like, oh boy.
Well, that happens sometimes anyway, right?
Yeah, but you sent it, and I was like, I was out. I was up for another couple hours. It wasn't so good. It wasn't so good. But
if I remember correctly, it wasn't one of the 4 a.m. emails. I think it was like 6 or 6:30 or something like that. Like, I don't think it was that like early for me. Wow.
I was up. We were out. But really, really nice wins. I like the fact that they've been winning games not at full strength. It's nice that they can win games without Joel. It's nice that they can win games without Harden. It's just
Tobias, PJ.
Yeah, without Tobias and PJ, they're just like the bench is playing. You know, George Niang's starting to hit a couple more shots. McDaniels is adding some, infusing some athleticism and effort. It's just nice to see. It's like a sign of a good team, and they're also now 7-3 on the second night of a back-to-back, which is, I think, a pretty big deal. Obviously, there won't be back-to-backs in the playoffs, but it does show you like they're competing and not just folding. It's just like a nice, and obviously, fucking Joel's the man, dude. Holy hell, he's so good. He's just really good. Like he just, I know Gobert is not the defender that, like, the reputation defender that he is anymore, and obviously he's still very good around the rim, but you're not trying to defend. He's not the best guy to defend in space. But Joel was just hitting shots over and around him all night long, and then they took him off Joel. They put him on PJ Tucker. They put slow-mo on Joel instead, and allowed like Gobert to roam. That didn't make a difference. Joel was just in everything, and then a lead that they held on to, and Joel could only play 28 minutes and not come back in. It was just a really, it was great. What a nice, relieving, nice thing to happen. I'm not back, but it's still nice.
Well, you're and they all looked like they were getting along. We got
there was a big cheer when Korkmaz hit his shot, and I was like, that's the Sixers bench. They're happy for him. Good for that.
We actually got this. We got a voicemail about Gobert. 833 lick face is how you leave us a voicemail.
So, hey, Spike. So here's the thing. I'm watching the game. It's in the second quarter. So my thought is this. If Embiid can cover and shut down Gobert, and Gobert can't shut down and cover Embiid, then I get that offense and defense are different, but how can Gobert be a better defensive player than Embiid? Embiid can also shut down anyone else if he chooses to. It's a ridiculous argument. Embiid is better than Gobert.
I mean, he's saying defensively, and I would agree at this point, right? I mean,
yeah, I think I would agree. I think Gobert maybe reputationally it gives more consistent effort on the defensive end because that's all he does. And you can find times when Embiid is sort of not all the way dialed in. But I think for years, everyone has acknowledged if Gobert can get played off the floor against the Clippers to where he's not even useful in any way, then yeah, I mean, if he's a liability on defense in the playoffs, then he's not a good enough defensive player to be considered like the best defensive player in the league. He's obviously very good and very skilled and one of the best defensive centers ever. But like as the game is changing, Embiid is obviously a better defender for the modern game.
You mentioned Joel being the man. Here's he was off the Heat game. Since then, 35 against the Mavs, 31 against the Bucks, 42 against the Pacers, 39 against the Timberwolves.
Yeah, has made like 30 straight foul shots.
Yep. Yeah, I think 28 of 28 over the last two games.
Yeah.
US. 11 of 16 and 13 of 22. Like just wild fucking numbers.
Yeah.
It's almost, the rebounding numbers are hilarious. It's almost like he's made a conscious decision not to rebound.
Yeah, he stopped.
It's very strange. 8, 6, 5,
not part of
and
his job
7.
anymore. Yeah, doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. The play, my favorite Joel play was he catches it on the block. He's got, I think it was Naz Reid behind him. He feels the double team coming. He catches it and spins so quickly, avoids the double, takes the bump from Naz Reid, and finishes with the left and like a scoop. It's just like next level stuff. Some good quotes from Anthony Edwards after the game about how good Joel is and that he should be the MVP. I thought he had really good distributing in this game of like, he was getting his without feeling like he was trying too hard to get it. He was still like making the right plays and getting everybody else involved. And I really like that he broke up a couple lobs to Gobert. One of Embiid's biggest weaknesses, especially in the playoffs, and you saw it in like the Hawks series with Capella and whatever, is like, obviously he's good in the pick and roll, and obviously he can switch in times, and he can hard hedge and get the ball out of his hands. But like if there's a lob catching, there's like an automatic every time I'm just gonna rim run and catch a lob. Embiid like doesn't respect that, and I think the way his disposition is like it's a little bit cheap or unfair. Like, oh, you're just gonna like catch a lob and the point guard's gonna throw like a little lob over it. Like that's easy. But so like he kind of doesn't do it that much. He doesn't like to. I don't know. It seems like he's just like ornery about the idea of it. Like in the way that like Harden used to not respect like Giannis's skills.
Yeah.
It feels like that's what Embiid thinks about like rim running centers. But he disrupted a couple lobs last night to Gobert. I feel like he's been doing that a little bit more lately. Yeah, I mean he's an incredible basketball player, and every time he's been electric lately. He should be the MVP, or he should have been the MVP last year. Like, there's just no reason why Jokic should have 3 MVPs to Embiid's 0 right now. It's just like, think bigger picture. Like, let's zoom out for a second. Like, MVP is not. We can talk about the merits of the fucking award, but it's not like a hard and fast, like strictly the number. Like, it's not anything. Like, the numbers don't.
Well, it's purposely, the definition is purposely ambiguous.
Vague, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like Embiid is the like eye test candidate and Jokic is the numbers candidate. They're both excellent in both. It's not as simple as that. It's just like I would like voters to like get their head out of their ass and like think a little bit more as far as like contextually what are we saying with this award, because that is the whole point of it. Jokic is not the most valuable player in the league 3 years in a row. There's no world where that's like everyone agrees that yeah, he's definitely that. There's no way. There's no way. If it's 2-1, that's fine. That's totally fine. But for it to be 3-0 for the seasons that Embiid has been having, number one scoring last year, and the better defensive player, and not either number 1 or number 2 in scoring this year, depending on how him and Luka finish. Like, he's unbelievable. Like, he should have one of these MVPs should be his. Or honestly, let's just do this. Jokic can win the MVP this year, and Embiid can take his from last year. They can just be like, I'll just trade. Like, it shouldn't be like this is like just like guys, fucking. Enough already.
If I were Embiid, what I would do is say I'm officially taking myself out of the running for MVP moving forward. That
If you were
way,
Jokic?
yes, but
Yeah.
no. If I were Embiid,
Oh, if you were Embiid, okay.
because then that way every MVP moving forward has an asterisk that Joel Embiid said that he was
That'd be fun.
not participating
Please,
in the MVP.
please do not vote for me. I'm not going to submit. Like you for like the Oscars or whatever, you have to like submit, or the producers
Yeah.
have to submit.
Yeah.
It's just like I won't be submitting for the most valuable player.
We got good news, something that we hadn't seen in a while in the Minnesota game.
Hey, Spike, Mike. Yeah, even CJ. Hey, so Korkmaz, maybe he's good again. In a game where we're putting up as many points as we are against Indianapolis right now, why wouldn't Furk get a couple minutes? You got PJ and Tobias out. If this isn't a situation where Furk can get 6 minutes or 4 minutes, then why are we even bringing him on the road?
So he did play against Minnesota. Do you think that he's been out so long that maybe he's good again?
Well, there's always been
suggests.
every year Korkmaz has like a very hot few weeks when he gets to play, and this isn't the only year he's been in and out of the rotation, but he has been. This is the longest he's been out of the rotation since like his rookie year, I think. I was beginning to think because he didn't play in the Pacers game, I was like, oh, did Doc just like absolutely hate the idea of the trade request and just hates Korkmaz and is like, I'm never playing this guy. You can show up in sweatpants. I don't give a fuck. But I'm glad he got in. I'm glad he looks pretty good. Hit a couple shots. Did get absolutely ripped. The ball got ripped from him by I think it was Taurean Prince, which was unpleasant. But I'm happy and he did, as I said before, the bench did get excited when he hit a three. You could hear the cheers from the bench.
I think,
and I'm sure, like, I don't know, some of his games being missed was because of obviously like the earthquake, and I'm sure he's figuring out a ton of family stuff, and I'm sure it's just like fucking weird to be like so much devastation back home as I'm like trying to get in garbage time minutes in an NBA game. But I'm happy for him. He's been here a long time. He has requested several trades. He's never gotten them. He is under contract for next season, so he likely will be here again.
That's so funny.
Until they stack his contract with something else, but to trade. But I mean, like he's never been bad. Like he is a good shooter. He shoots it high. He shoots it quick. He's got a little bit of ball skills. Decent, like heady
Something
passer.
happened last year with the shot, though. Something happened weird last year with the shot.
Well, he's a Sixer.
Yeah. We got an email from Matt. Hi, Spike and Mike. My wife and I just closed on our first home with Mortgage CS. It was a great experience. I had a right to share about it. We started the process last year. Our realtor told her it's best to get pre-approved and work with a local lender. She gave us the contact info of another mortgage broker. Our experience with that broker was less than great. The entire conversation was less than 5 minutes. We hardly discussed any numbers, let alone in detail. And we just did not feel comfortable or satisfied. I showed my wife the Mortgage CS Ricky-centric webpage. I said, if they put this much effort into the details on their site, imagine what they'll probably do when working with them. Side note, she thought that the main page of their website was the Ricky page and said, how do normal people understand what they do? I laughed. Anyway, we texted Ben the next morning, asked if he could help give us a second opinion. He replied immediately. His partner, Alec, got on the phone with us, walked us through everything. When we hung up, the entire mortgage process had been demystified, and we understood where every single dollar would be going. From that phone call on, everything was easy. As an amazing final touch, Ben and Alec both sent TTP texts moments after closing. Highly recommend for anyone looking to buy or refinance. The Ricky VIP treatment is real. There you go. You need a mortgage. You want an independent mortgage broker who only cares about you and who makes a writes Ricky Sanchez website. That is Mortgage CS. Go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky, mortgagecs.com/Ricky, become a Ricky Mortgage CS VIP, or just call or text Ben, their CEO, at any time, 267-391-7425. That's 267-391-7425. You can do it right now. Someone in the chat, text Ben, see if he responds. And then I want you to text what you put in the chat what you texted him, and then I want to see what his response is. 267-391-7425. By the way, also Mortgage CS sponsoring the video presentation of Live Ricky 5, which will happen a few days after Live Ricky 5. Very, very excited to be able to do that. Again, mortgagecs.com/Ricky or call or text Ben 267-391-7425. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. The other thing that happened in the games that I just wanted to make sure we touched on is like after, I think we've mentioned this a couple of times, but after a couple of iffy weeks, it seems like Tyrese Maxey is like back on track.
Oh yeah.
You know, the shot looks back on track. He's, attacking the rim again. Like it feels like no matter, and by the way, it doesn't seem to matter what lineup he's in. It doesn't seem to matter who he's playing with. It just, he seems to be attacking and confident again in like a normal Tyrese Maxey way, which is fun to watch, especially with our expectations based on preseason. Like he looked great in preseason, and I think it felt like he was going to take another leap, and then he got hurt, and then he was coming off the bench and yada, yada, but it does feel like he's back on track.
Yeah. I mean, he's been electric from the outside, hitting everything. He's been consistently getting 25 to 30 points per game over the last stretch here since he got back in the starting lineup. Like it is true. Like to settle in and once in a while, like look out at the sky and think like the Sixers have Maxey and Harden at the same time. And that's for a team that like has had so many players who couldn't dribble and so many players who couldn't shoot, let alone two players any players at the same time who could dribble and shoot. And the fact that there's two of them here, it is a really like stunning. We got used to it pretty quick. I think it's easy to get used to things over the course of a season, but like if you press pause and like think back for a little bit, that they've had so many like, well, if this guy can just learn how to dribble, or this guy can learn how to shoot, or this guy can like figure out what passing is like I guess I'm just thinking of Jonathan Simmons for that. It's just crazy that they're both here and they're both they're playing so well. Like you look at this team, Maxey for a second, over and over last night, blew past Gobert.
Yeah.
For layup and got it up. And Gobert people do that to Gobert. Obviously he doesn't move his feet well, but he recovers pretty well because of how long he is. And he can usually get a bunch of blocks just by recovering before the ball gets to the backboard. But Maxey gets it up so fast.
And he like sneaks it up in there. Like
he
it's
sneaks it up in there
before you can do anything about it.
Absolutely. All the time. And just really impressive. And he's gotten better and better as the year's gone on and as his 3 seasons have gone on of like figuring out when to take contact, to like almost use the defense in his rhythm. Like he's going to take the bump, and then that's like his like 1-2 step bump and then in. Like that it like helps with his rhythm, I think. Really, really just a stunningly impressive offensive player. And then you just look at the team and like the reason why offensively I'm just not concerned. They're now up to 4th in the league in offense. Obviously they have 3 incredible shot makers, but like they are the number 1 free throw shooting team in the league. Percentage wise, they're 3rd in as far as free throw rate goes, how often they get to the line. They have all their top 8 guys as far as minutes go. Let's forget about Jalen McDaniels for a second. He hasn't been here long enough for the sample size matters. Everybody shoots, except for Embiid shoots 36% from 3, which is big for him. Everybody else shoots 38, 39, 40% from 3. They are the number, as far as like 3-point percentage goes, the number 1 3-point shooting team in the league. Number 1, 39% from 3. Like it's an unbelievable like level of shot making. Of not everybody can do as many dynamic things, but like these are just like really good shooters that can shoot off the catch. They can get to the line. They hit free throws. All 8 of their top 8 rotation players are shooting above 80% from the line. Most of them well above 80% from the line. Like they're just really like consistently getting the easy stuff, so that when like they don't give up. The rebounding is frustrating and the transition is frustrating, but like they are, getting some edges in little pieces here and there to keep themselves in games. And they're an incredible offensive team. And the defense is what the defense is, as I've talked about. But like, I'm just not concerned on an offensive end Harden still looks really, really good. He looks bouncy, he's shooting shot, like he's hitting everything, like he's spraying the ball all over the place. Like they are an exceptional offensive team, and it's largely in part because of they have guys who can get their own shot, and then the rest of the guys know how to shoot, and it's just like that's pretty simple.
Per Rich Hoffman, I think it was his tweet I saw, since James Harden came back from injury, the Sixers are number 1 in the league in offense, but number 16 in defense.
Yeah.
So,
and it feels that way.
Yeah, it does. It does. So before we move on, I'm going to give you, we have an email about Jalen McDaniels and an email about Daniel House. Which one would you like? Pick one or the other.
Let's go to Daniel House because I wanted to talk about him.
This came from George the Greek. And actually, we have a good Jalen McDaniels voicemail later, so we'll get to that. It came from George the Greek. I'm not guessing that he's Greek. He signed his email, George the Greek. Basketball question. Does Daniel House look somewhat playable the last few games, or is it just me? Should he be getting more minutes to end the season to see if we can use him in the playoffs, especially in matchups versus Boston where Niang is unplayable? I think he should, unless we can sign somebody like Stanley Johnson instead. Both are worth the luck before the postseason.
Oh, well, we'll definitely love Stanley Johnson. Let's just put that to the side and say, like, absolutely. I wrote this as I was watching the game, the Pacers game, and then when I watched the Wolves game this morning, with trepidation in my voice, and I hope that comes across, I am starting to trust Daniel House. It is bizarre to feel that way.
You are back,
but it is. I do think that, I guess this ties into McDaniels, but like the energy that McDaniels and B-Ball Paul have brought to this team, I think has become a little bit infectious as far as just like there's athletes, we're getting more 50-50 balls, getting a few more rebounds. Tobias last night had 14 rebounds. He had 3 offensive rebounds. He came up with a bunch of like loose balls. I was happy about that. Tobias had a nice big man dunk, by the way, which I'm monitoring his dunk count. We're still a little lower than I wanted to be, but just factoring that in. Dan House had a really, really nice play in the Pacers game. Maxey pick and roll, whip pass to the opposite corner. Daniel House catches it. The defense recovers onto him. As he's catching it, he sees the defense coming. He sees George Niang in the dunker spot. A weird pass to make from basically the corner into the dunker spot. He makes it in a split-second decision. George Niang gets a nice little layup out of it. It was a really nice pass. It was a heady play. It looked like he knew what he was doing. He's a good defensive player sometimes. He's a good offensive player sometimes. And if those things align at the same time, then all of a sudden, like, he's the guy that they signed. He's the guy that they wanted him here for. It really is it's going to be a quiet tournament, to use the Brett Brown phrase, in the playoffs of which matchup dependent guys play in the Shake or House or Niang department. I think if Doc shrinks his rotation to like 8, then some of those guys aren't going to get minutes in particular series or games. I think Shake is definitely like the best player of them, but like as far as what the team needs the most, they might need his skill set the least. So it's interesting, but all 3 of those guys being like looking playable right now. Obviously, Niang is going to struggle in some matchups defensively, but the shots it's a game-breaking shooter.
Daniel House is going to be in some fucking playoff game.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be 17 seconds left on the fucking clock.
Yeah.
And he's going to shoot a step back
from like the dead corner.
Yep. I'm going to play this fucking clip back to you.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm not saying that's not going to happen.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's not going to do that, but over the last couple weeks of him getting back in the rotation here and there, mostly because of injury, like he just is doing some of the things that they need him to do.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It looks, this team went from, I said the other day, like this team has a bunch of ninth men on the bench. It's like Melton and then a bunch of ninth guys that you wish one of them was like a little bit better. And especially with PJ Tucker contributing very little offensively most of the time, although sometimes it's been better in the second half of the year. You wish that there was somebody a little bit more consistent that they could go to. And it's just, that's what you get with bench players. Nobody looks at their bench and goes like, oh, we have like 5 perfectly playable matchup independent guys we can go to at any time. Because it's just like, it's hard to be able to trust those guys. There's just not that many of them. But right now the bench looks good. The depth looks pretty solid on this team. And Dan House, until further notice is a part of that.
Well, you got to carry him around in case you're not somebody gets caught having sex.
Yeah, and that's important also.
All right. So we're gonna announce 2 of the 3 inductees for Process Hall of Fame coming up. We haven't done Process Hall of Fame since 2019. But we're doing it again in Live Ricky 5. But there is a chance for you to vote on one of the categories. Before we do, we got an email from Jin, who, by the way, asked non-basketball question: how did Spike trick his wife into marrying him with only shampooing his hair once a month? How much do you think wives shampoo their hair, bro? I mean, she doesn't approve of the once a month thing, but once a week.
How much do wives shampoo their
Well,
hair?
but with the long hair, I'm saying wives are probably more likely to have long hair. Alyssa doesn't shampoo her hair every night. There's no way.
I just think it's funny talking about wives shampooing their hair
shampooing their hair.
specifically, not
Yeah,
women,
not
or
women, but wives.
anybody with long hair, just wives specifically.
Jin said, I had a great interaction with Adam Kornblau of Kornblau Kornblau, the official lawyer of the process. He helped me with a lease problem I'm having to deal with. He gave me a call the day I sent him an email, gave me some great advice on him. Thank you, Adam, for being so generous with your time for Ricky fans. I wish to be more like you when I grow up. Kornblau Kornblau is the VIP sponsor of Live Ricky 5, and he will be there shaking everybody's hand right before they say hello to B-Ball Paul. Kornblau Kornblau, they are the personal injury law firm. I know you hear about personal injury law firms a lot, but what happens when you call those numbers is you get like a call center, and they refer you to somebody else. A lot of times the law firms that you're calling are not even in the area. It's a local phone number, but they're not even there. Kornblau Kornblau has been serving the Delaware Valley. I think the base office is there in Jenkintown. There's offices all over the place, serving the Delaware Valley for like 4 decades. And you're not getting a call center. You're getting a Kornblau. You're getting a real person who will fight for you, who really cares about this shit, is passionate about it. And as I've mentioned many times before, I was in a personal injury lawsuit. My wife and I got rear-ended by a drunk driver who's also on PCP. That lawsuit took like 3 years. It was incredibly frustrating. It made me not want to participate. It was horrible. I would have much rather had known about Kornblau at the time and had somebody like that in my corner. And as Jin noticed, if you email Kornblau about anything legal-wise, he's going to take care of you if you're a Ricky listener. If you think you might have a case, give him a call or shoot him an email. It doesn't cost you anything. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam, or email kornblau@kornblau.com. Kornblau Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. Process Hall of Fame. Boy, it's been a while. The last Process Hall of Fame induction was in 2019 when we surprised Brett Brown with an induction. Also inducted TJ McConnell. You inducted Burner Gate. And we had Ike Reese and Joe Giglio induct Retweet Armageddon in 2018. So the categories are Sixers player, Sixers thing, and Ricky thing. 2018, the pick swap was inducted, Joel Embiid, and the Hinkie Billboard. We're bringing it back, Mike, the Process Hall of Fame. So 2 of the categories we have decided, but we have left the 3rd category up for a vote. The 2 categories that have been decided are Sixers player and Sixers thing. Mike, you will be inducting Mike Muscala into the Process Hall of Fame.
And arguably not being inducted for being a Sixers player.
Right. And being inducted for being an Oklahoma City Thunder player.
That's right.
You saw an image of the banner that will be raised today. It looks fucking beautiful.
I did. Waiting on those cease and desists from Mike Muscala's
Dad.
dad.
So Mike Muscala will be inducted by Mike. CJ, I wonder if you could find the Ben Simmons photo so we could put it on the screen.
While CJ does that, just in case people don't, the reason why we have
the Mike Muscala
Tyrese
thing.
Maxey,
Explain.
Yeah, the reason why we have Tyrese Maxey is because Mike Muscala hit a meaningless 3 in the bubble to beat, I think it was Miami.
I don't remember.
CJ remembers. He edited the video. And that's why we got the pick then conveyed. It was the Markelle Fultz pick, which then conveyed out, which is outside the top 20, and that's why we got the first round pick that eventually became Tyrese Maxey. So thank you, Mike Muscala. We love Mike Muscala. We watched that live on the podcast. That happened live.
Oh, we did. Oh, it did.
I was on the couch in my old apartment watching it, probably with pretty upsetting hair at the time.
Andrew Underberger will be inducting just a curveball that came out of nowhere, and I just think it's so perfect. The Ben Simmons practice photo. And that actually is a second before or a second after, I think, the actual photo. He's shaking his head yes. That's not the actual one, I think. Is
that the one where he has the phone in his pocket, which was
Yes.
like, no, it's actually a warm-up jersey?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So Andrew Unterberger will be, oh, here we go. Yeah, there we go.
That's the shot.
So AU will be inducting the Ben Simmons practice photo into the Process Hall of Fame. And here's your choice. So that is the Sixers thing. The Sixers player is Mike Muscala, even though he's on the Thunder. But you can vote for the Ricky thing. You can do it at rightsrickysanchez.com. CJ is going to put the link in the chat to vote right now. Also, it'll be, if you're listening to the pod, just go into the description and you'll see the link to vote.
This is
Your
the first
choice-
time I'm hearing it. So this is AU
Yes.
came up with these categories, these
Yes.
possibilities? Okay.
Yes. AU came up with a lot. His first batch, I said, were a little recency biased. So he went back to work and came up with this list. Something that has been nominated a few times before, or twice before, I believe, the Paul Millsap All-Star story. It was the early days of the podcast. I told a long story about the welcome that Paul Millsap got at All-Star, and Mike didn't know it was coming and didn't know I was lying, and it was a huge reveal at the end. Booing Tony Snell when we did Fly the Process to boo Malcolm Brogdon in Milwaukee. He was not playing, so we booed Tony Snell. I always said in effigy, but I don't know if that is the correct use of
no.
in effigy.
No, like as a proxy, I think is more.
Yes.
And why did we want to boo Malcolm Brogdon?
Because he won Rookie of the Year when either Dario or Joel Embiid should have won Rookie of the Year.
That's right.
The Robert Covington ovation at the lottery party.
It's all about my heart for this one.
Yeah. This was when the Sixers were eliminated by the Celtics one of 700 times in the NBA playoffs. Robert Covington had a bad series. And
So it would have been that. Yeah, so that would have been 2017, their first Embiid playoff run, because Covington was traded the next year for Jimmy.
So we had booked Robert Covington to be in the lottery party, but it was the first year that we had a lottery party when we had the playoffs to worry about. We hadn't really considered that they may lose.
Yep.
And they lost. Covington disappeared for like 3 days before the lottery party. We couldn't find him. Mm-hmm. He did show up, and he got a massive fucking ovation.
Yeah.
Like a legendary ovation that gives me chills thinking about it.
Yeah, it was the loudest I've ever heard anything.
Yeah.
And it was, he did have a bad shooting series in that Celtics series for sure.
Yeah. So the Covington ovation at the lottery party. Daryl Morey appearing on the podcast from the bubble as president of the Houston Rockets.
It's really...
He still has no explanation for it.
No, none whatsoever. I think the answer was he was just bored. He was locked in the bubble and was just like, sure, but it feels, and we will believe, that it was foreshadowing that he was going to take this job.
The next, Tony T's famous song, Me and Kyrie. Okay. Of course, he told the story, Tony T did, of ending up accidentally in Washington on January 5th, 2021, and then told a song or sang a song about his newly found friendship with Kyrie Irving.
Interesting. Yeah.
An amazing moment on the podcast. Really unbelievable. I laugh every time I watch the video. So me and Kyrie.
How many more nominees?
Couple more nominees.
How many nominees total are we talking? I thought it would be... I didn't realize it was going to be this many.
Well, I think it was 10 last time. It's not 10 this time. It is... Okay. I don't have it up in front of me. 2 more. The better than Ben Simmons list. 2 years ago, I came up with a list of 69 players that would help the Sixers more than Ben Simmons. I didn't reveal it, I think, until last year, and we went over it, maybe slightly before that. So the better than Ben Simmons list, I will give CJ the link of that list. And finally, this would be a first, Mike, for a banned person to go into the Process Hall of Fame. Jeopardy contestant banned for twice not saying the name on Jeopardy. Would be a first ever. Talked about the lottery party, didn't say the name of the podcast, and was banned. So there you go. You can vote at rightsrickysanchez.com. CJ again had put it in the chat, or if you're just listening right now on a podcast app, if you go into the podcast description, you can vote. You have until midnight on March 15th. We offer congratulations to Mike Muscala and the Ben Simmons practice photo for their inductions as well.
Huge.
Also, if you have ad blocker on, turn it off because it might block the poll.
Wow.
What about that new?
CJ's just trying to get those ads in.
Yeah. Well, CJ, what about the link thing that I put in there? Is that also blocked?
I think it just redirects you to the website, like the link itself. It doesn't bring you to a separate page for the poll. So, but a few people in the chat also said they had ad block on. They turned it off, and then it showed up. So,
CJ, are there any Democratic Governor Association ads you'd like me to see? Is that anything to do with it? Wow, he just hides. He runs and hides. He ran and hides. Unbelievable. Got his ass. I love every time CJ pops up. It's like Stone Cold's music playing for me.
Before we get to the mailbag, which I thought was a particularly good mailbag, we actually have a Jigsaw too.
I have one quick thought based on something that was on the site. There was a really great article about James Harden's contract on the site that MOC wrote, Michael Connor.
It's on our rundown. It's actually the next thing on our rundown.
Well, before we do that, I would like to do that because I want to start it earlier than that.
Wow, really pulling back the curtain today.
Hey, come on. Sometimes I look at it. Sometimes I look at it.
All right.
I'll just set it up. Michael Connor, great article.
Yep.
On the rightsrickysanchez.com about what there's been a little between us and between just the Sixers Twitter area generally of like all these fucking Houston rumors for Harden, like whatever, man. I don't buy it or whatever. It'll be fine. He's had a great year. That's everything, especially offensively. I don't think anybody's going to give him like a full-throated credit for everything until the playoffs. But it's been a little bit of like, yeah, he's been great. But like, if you really want to leave and go to Houston, who's the worst team in the league right now, then like, go ahead, bro. But as the article states, that the Sixers are really limited in what they can do if Harden does leave. And it gets to basically like, if Harden leaves, there's no more cards left to play.
Yep.
And essentially, the process is over. Like it's a little bit like this is the last ride for what they can do to build a good team around Joel Embiid.
Now essentially what he said, he basically breaks it down into three options. One, Harden resigns for a max 4-year deal, which is what it's going to take. Two, Harden leaves and the Sixers try to remain competitive with what they have. So Maxey and Embiid plus. And he mentions they could, package Harris and Springer in a draft pick for him. This is a great line. The Sixers can theoretically try to package Harris, Springer, and a draft pick for a max contract player that a team is simply looking to get off of, like perhaps Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine. But a trade like that would essentially mean taking this year's roster, inserting a worse version of Harden, removing Harris, and then punting on Springer and another draft pick, which is true. Yeah. And then the other option, the Harden walks and the Sixers try to retool on the fly, which is trying to dump cap space and somehow get a star. I think
and because they've traded so many picks,
they
just have limited chances to like strike gold and hit a lottery ticket on somebody. They just don't have that many guys left. And most of them, if they had even like late first round picks, you can go like, oh, this guy has become like a vital rotation player, as we've seen with obviously Maxey, but like around the league, you look at teams that have gotten a lot of help from that late first round, early second round area. The Sixers just don't have those picks, enough of those picks anymore to assume that could possibly happen.
I think the only thing he didn't mention, and it doesn't seem likely, but it also doesn't seem impossible to me, is that if Harden were to go to Houston, I think it's possible they would want another guy there. And the idea that you could sign and trade, I mean, they've got a lot of picks there. You could sign and trade, take back a couple of players, and maybe take a couple of picks and somehow parlay that into something else. But he's right. Like I was pretty like, if Harden wants to walk, let him walk. But it is unless they really shit the bed in the playoffs, and I'm talking about a first round loss, they're in a very precarious position if he's not here.
Yeah, because it's also salary cap wise. Like, it's not like if Harden leaves, then they can just go sign somebody for that exact amount because they're already over the cap.
Yep.
So that you can sign guys. You can sign your own guys if you're over the cap, but you're really limited to signing like basically just like mid-level type guys if you're trying to sign out, from somebody else. It is they're a little bit hamstrung by it. And I don't know how willing because Houston's going to have plenty of cap space. I don't know if they're willing to trade like decent picks, even years down the road, to give a better deal to Harden. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the market for Harden is going to be like, but this article really nicely and upsettingly made the case for like they really need to re-sign him.
Good job bringing it up. I hadn't seen that article or thought about talking about it during the pod.
Let's talk about the thing you want to talk about. So what was next?
No, that was literally.
I was playing along.
Okay, all right. Actually,
also one more thing. Sorry just about Harden, because there was a great Michael Pena article in the I think it was in the Ringer about Harden and how he's done this year. And there was it noted something I didn't realize. James Harden has one single dunk on the year. One. I don't remember it. Do you? Well, the article linked to it, so I watched it. It was from earlier in the season, but it was just like he's still, the fact that he's this good and still like has lost. When he was 5'3", 5'10" years ago, like he was really like
impressive,
an impressive dunker, impressive finisher with power, and now he's gotten so good at doing it in a crafty way that he's still shooting. What's he shooting on twos this year? Just under 50% on twos, which is lower than what he used to be shooting on twos, but it's
he's
better.
Taking more jump shots too. He's taking more.
He's taking more jump shots, that's for sure. And he's also, last year he was 47.6% on twos. Now he's 49.7% on twos, and he's getting by people a little bit easier. He's finishing with a little more strength and touch. Like he's been great offensively. Defensively, everybody knows.
We will get to an excellent mailbag coming up and a jigsaw right after I talk about BodyBio. I had a BodyBio moment this morning, Mike. We love BodyBio. Now you've mentioned Gut Plus. Of course, I've mentioned Elite a bunch. I made a fucking terrible error, and as for somebody who loves routine and habit, last 3 days I have not taken Elite in the morning or in the evening. So I run this morning and I'm at the gym, I shower, and I'm putting on my shoes. And I don't know if you've ever had this before, but I got cramps in my like abdomen.
Oh yeah. I get it after I drink and don't sleep that
holy
much.
Fuck, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And I was just like cursing myself. I was like, that's what I get. I had all this cramping problem. I solved it by taking Elite, and then I don't take it. And I'm standing in the gym like this, like bent over like this, like trying to act normal because there's other people there. It was horrible. Elite is straight up electrolytes. No sugar, no artificial colors, no anything. You take a cap of it, you put it in your drink in the morning or the evening, your soda stream right here, morning and evening, and it balances you out. Being hydrated is about more than just water. It's electrolytes too. I take Elite. Gut Plus, very simply, the only gut supplement you need. If you are taking a probiotic, take Gut Plus, which will allow your body to make its own proper probiotics. And essentially what it's going to do is like all those tummy problems you're looking to solve, regularity, bloat, all that kind of stuff. Gut Plus is the only gut supplement you need. Here's the best news. You use code FIRECJ at bodybio.com, FIRECJ, FIRECJ. You're going to get 20% off everything. Not just the first order, not just the second order. Use code FIRECJ for 20% off everything. That is Gut Plus. That is Elite. Everything. BodyBio.com, code FIRECJ. Little curveball for everybody here, especially if you haven't looked at the rundown. not naming names. Just,
Play.
Could be anybody.
Play this game.
Game we play.
I will play this game.
I miss you.
I will play this game.
I'm worried. Play.
I will play this game.
And after the game, they were interviewing him, and they said, how does it feel to win the ultimate game? And he said, if it's the ultimate game, why are they playing it again next year?
here we go. If
I
it is
watched-
the ultimate game.
I watched the speaking of Doug Collins, I watched the Redeem Team documentary.
How was that?
It was okay.
Yeah.
But there's some good parts. It's just funny. It's fun to watch him play and stuff. But there's a lot of Doug Collins in it. I'm just like, God. Fuck it. And there's a lot of, and there's both a lot of Doug Collins and a lot of Jerry Colangelo. It's just like, man,
Oh boy,
there's a
double
lot.
duty.
Yeah, for real.
Jigsaw came from Eric. Mike, here are your two choices for the rest of your life. Eric says, I have a jigsaw for Mike that came to mind since he recently got married. Mike, for the rest of your life, every time someone shows you a picture of their baby or young child or introduces you to their young child, your immediate response must always start with, yikes, with a brief pause afterwards. That is option one.
Okay.
Option two, for the rest of your life, at every wedding you attend, you must go up to the bride and ask them to dance, just the two of you, while the bride and their new spouse are making the rounds and saying hello to the tables. You cannot wait till they're heading to a new table, by the way. You have to disrupt conversation and ask her to dance. Remember, this is every wedding for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter if you're friends with the bride or a distant acquaintance.
Yeah. Both feel rude.
Yep. Yikes.
I think I could convince myself that saying yikes is just because I'm not sure if I want kids. So I could convince myself that that is a reflection of that. Taking, especially after we just got married and knowing how many balls are in the air, to be like, hey, stop what you're doing. Dance with me. No matter what age I am or how well I know this person. Yeah, I don't think that'd be so good. So I'll go with yikes.
Okay. Yikes. And then a pause.
Yeah, I'll go with yikes.
Pause. Oh man. If I knew somebody, if we were in the same place, I would purposely introduce you to people who had babies just to hear you do it.
Thanks.
WrightsRickySanchez@gmail.com is where you send us a email, or you can send us a voicemail at leave us a voicemail at 833-LickFace. This came from Zach. The subject line, I thought this was a funny email. Subject line was, the process is killing all of us. Hey guys, first time writer, medium time listener. I'm a lifelong Sixers fan and I hated the process and would regularly fight with friends and colleagues who supported it. As a result, I stubbornly avoided the Ricky for a long time, but finally caved during the pandemic. Truthfully, I'm still not sure I like the pod, but I listened to every episode.
That's fair.
It's not that I didn't trust the process. In fact, I trusted the process to do exactly what it's doing to all of us. It has turned Sixers fandom into a fatalistic experience where we cannot enjoy any amount of success short of a championship. Otherwise, the process won't have been worth it. It's why every win is tinged with the feeling that it doesn't really matter, because within the win, we can see millions of reasons why the team will never be good enough to win a championship. It's why we've all invested an unhealthy amount of our happiness into Embiid winning the MVP. It's why we can't cheer for smaller milestones or incremental gains, such as securing the number one seed in the East, because we can't appreciate that incrementality. Any milestone accomplishment that isn't clear service of winning a championship has become unenjoyable. What a terrible way to enjoy sports. And it was so predictable to many of us from the beginning.
I think that's a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't like the process because in a few years, when they're really good, they're not going to be good enough and they're going to have plateaued. And I'm going to know that it's not going to be as fun for people unless they go all the way. It's just like, come on, man. Get over it.
It wraps it up. Some of us not just the 4 years of losing, which is a pretty significant percentage of our lives when you think about it.
3 years of losing.
3 years. But the years after we made the turn, when our entire collective livelihoods would be entirely dependent on the team validating the process. Some of us realized that early on, but nobody empathized. Not all resistors simply hated the idea of tanking. We could see what was on the other side.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb as hell.
All things considered, I think this is our year.
Dumb as hell. I think that those are two separate things. The Sixers are not the only team in the league or in any league where once you've not been able to ascend to the next level, break through a second round exit, it doesn't matter if there was a process 9 years ago or not. It's just like people are getting frustrated with, like, the Sixers have more potential than they've shown in the playoffs. And so it's just frustrating because of how many playoff disappointments they've had. That has nothing to do with like trading Michael Carter Williams. Like it has nothing to do with any of that. And if there are fan bases and fans individually who like watching successful teams and decided to tune out during the process era, and now are like fine with them like being good, but are not sweating every playoff loss as much as we are. But that's an individual choice. That has nothing to do with the process. Those are like you're ramming your anti-process opinion into this unrelated reality.
I think a more simple response is, Zach, what you're describing is caring about a team. Like, this is the way that Eagles fans act. It's the way that Phillies fans act. It is everyone ignored the fucking Sixers for 20 years or 10 years before the process started. That's what it was like. It wasn't like during the Iguodala years. Oh, even though I personally enjoyed like beating the Bulls that year. Like, it wasn't like, boy, this is fun that they're pretty good sometimes. Nobody likes that. It's like in my industry in radio, everybody says, well, I guess media now, everybody goes, because, you know, all I do is fucking work. Everybody goes, you know what I dream? I dream of having like a normal 9-to-5 job where you just come home and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. It's not fun. People are like, boy, I wish we had a team that was just good and didn't have any expectations. That's not what caring about a team is like.
No, I do think some people feel that way. I think that some people do, like, you know, like the Pacers for a long time have been like 43-47 win team.
But you don't stay there. It's impossible to. I don't think. I mean, we were in that arena. I think like
the Sixers were slightly worse than that. Yeah. They were in like the 35-41 win era for a while, and so being pretty good, being like the 4-5 seed, whatever. Some fans like that, and I'm not. That's totally their prerogative. I'm not saying they're wrong to think that. I'm saying that has nothing to do with the process. Like I like the process because I was tired of being in that like 6-10 range where like there was no hope of breaking through, and I wanted a franchise star to build around, and we got one, and it's gone well, but not as well as it could have gone over the last 5 years of Joel's prime.
833 Lickface is the phone number.
I'm sure that'll make him like the podcast more.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we're all on the same page now.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. This is Anthony calling in from Philadelphia. It's halftime right now during the Pacers game. Gotta say, I like some things. I didn't like some things. I mean, Maxey's out here looking wetter than a swimming pool. Our boy Paul Reed's out there balling out, giving right to the name. Jalen McDaniels. I mean, I love him, and I want to see more of it. But he bricked another dunk hard. So it's regretfully that I bring this up. I think we might have to start calling him Jalen Brick Daniels just until he snaps his streak and gets a nice slammer in there. Let me know your thoughts.
What do you think? Until he gets a nice slammer in there, are we calling him Jalen?
Yeah, well, he had that tip dunk in the Milwaukee game.
Yeah, that was great.
Dunk,
that was
which
awesome.
was big. He has missed a significant amount of dunks, and he missed another one in the Pacers game.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I don't care. I'm so happy he's trying. The Sixers for so long, since KJ McDaniels, have not had guys who just like, maybe like Rashawn, I guess, but like they haven't had enough guys who just like try to dunk all the time. And when you're there, you should be trying to dunk. And I've appreciated Jalen McDaniels doing it. He's been okay. There's been, he's fitting in. It's hard to be traded midseason to all of a sudden a team that's contending. Like there's been good games, there's been bad. But I think overall his energy has been a very big net positive and hits a couple shots, make a couple things happen. Like I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for really if they can sign him to like a mid-level type deal for the next few years. I'm excited to see how he grows together with the team.
Let's go to another voicemail. 833 Lickface. How about... Here we go.
Hey, guys. This is Jake calling from Orland. Basketball question. Mike, if you were to be named Sixers head coach today, right now, what would be your very first act as coach? And non-basketball question, was there ever any talk of a sort of Ricky bachelor party for Mike. I know obviously it's too late now, but the idea of AU and Sixers Adam at the craps table or getting lap dances at the strip club just cracks me up for some reason. Was there ever any consideration there? Thanks a lot.
Very funny. Very, very funny to imagine. Okay. It's just going to be, sorry, this is just going to be people associated with the podcast. Like everybody else, you're not allowed to come. This is just for the podcast, folks. Let's do it. We should do it. We should have, and then Abby should come, and everybody that's associated with the podcast should be there. My first thing that I would do with the Sixers, I'm just beating this dead horse over and over again, but I would say like help is not coming. And I would say if guys beat you off the dribble, then you will look like an idiot. You will look like you are getting roasted by these guys and take more pride in your individual defense. And then in different matchups in the playoffs or whatever, you'd have to like have some help. And Embiid, obviously you want helping in some level, but it's not, I think just like way too much help, way too much guys assuming that like, oh, somebody gets by me, it's going to be okay. Somebody else has got me. But then they're just kicking out to open shooters and it's torture. So I would say don't leave your guys, stop ball watching, and play more straight up one-on-one. And I would probably switch a lot more, especially when Embiid's sitting. I would switch everything all the time. Dan from Bethlehem, and I would kidnap a ref, and I would say cut out the top 20% worst calls, or you'll die in here, right in my basement. Writes Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. This comes from Dan from Bethlehem. Dan from Bethlehem here, been listening since Spike ran the Time's Yours podcast. That is a long time ago. Basketball question. I'm subscribed to the Nate Duncan podcast. I'm not saying the name. So I have access to the Discord chat they run. A user named Mike Marshall 219 said in the chat, quote, on a recent pod, Daryl Morey said that defenses in the NBA are behind where offenses are. Is this person banned? You guys have me successfully tattletaling on strangers on the internet. Congrats. Yes, I believe so. I believe Kevin Nagandi on ESPN also made a you said on a podcast thing on ESPN as well. That's tough. Non-basketball question. Mike, what was the best cocktail hour food at your wedding? Cocktail hour food is the best part of a wedding reception. The best food at the wedding reception. Crab cakes were really good. They were all really good. Meatballs were really good. And had interesting spice. Didn't just taste like a regular CJ spaghetti and meatballs type situation. And then rapini stuffed mushrooms, which are very good. I would say the crab cakes were my favorite. 833 Lickface is. I don't think that guy should be banned. I don't think you. I think you have to like be on some level of a platform to be banned. If we're not just banning Twitter people and comment threads indiscriminately. 833 Lickface is the phone number.
Oh, dickheads! It's me again. You mean to tell me I get shut out of the tickets for the fucking live victory tour, and now I can't buy a fucking shirt from Heavy Slime? What the fuck?
Yo, dickheads, I was a little angry. I just want the shirt. The Heavy Slime shirt. Please make it available. Double the price. Half to CJ, half to charity. Please, for the love of God. The Heavy Slime shirt. I think we got to get that guy a shirt. Well, I like that CJ profits off the shirts. CJ gets all of it, and half then the rest. Charity, half to CJ. That is the system. There's been a lot of whining about the t-shirts. I did say what we're doing is we're printing shirts. Whatever doesn't sell in the room will go online. That's it. There will be shirts online, but most of our shirts are pre-sold, so we don't have like extra. I don't ship t-shirts or whatever, but Eric's Heavy Slime there will be enough for that night and to sell some afterwards, not before. I'm sorry to everyone we're not doing the t-shirts in a normal way. Couple more. 833 Lickface is the phone number.
Weekly Becky here, setting aside all of my high-level basketball questions today to focus on the topic that Ricky listeners care most about, which is Spike's bodily practices and philosophies. So as a fellow vegan, I am officially concerned about your protein intake. I've known for a while that you're not a soy milk guy. Learned recently that you only eat twice a day, and one of those meals is a salad. Are you getting enough protein? Do you fuck with protein powders? Do you believe there's a big protein conspiracy that needs to be exposed on the pod?
Believe it or not, I do believe there's a protein conspiracy. Like probably 20 years ago, people started thinking you need a gram of protein for every like pound you weigh, which is nonsense. You need like 50% carbohydrates, 25% fat, 25% protein. I get enough protein, like 50 or 60 grams. There's protein in quinoa, there's protein in avocados, there's protein in nuts. There's plenty of protein out there. Don't let big protein think that you need 100 grams of protein or something. And, I considered this will be, I believe, the final voicemail. 833 like face.
Hey guys, Chris, first time, long time. Just wondering why Spike wasn't invited to Mike's wedding. Gonna need Mike to give us the skinny. You guys spent 2 hours a week together for the past 10 years. Let us know. I think we're all interested. Thanks.
Now, Mike,
there we go.
I just should let you know there is a thread on the Ricky Reddit about this. It's the most popular thread on Ricky Reddit.
Oh, no.
We've received several emails, several tweets. I had a voicemail last time, and I was like, there have been several voicemails. This one just got right to the point. So the floor is yours, I guess.
Floor is mine. All right. Yeah, I'll answer it. I'm borderline think my mom's going to pop up on here and ask why a bunch of people weren't invited to the wedding. There was some aunts and uncles not invited to the wedding, some cousins. We had a small wedding. We paid for it. It was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the venue that we did had it at, there was like limited space, honestly. And, I have a big family. Alyssa doesn't. So the lopsidedness of people that were on my side versus people on Alyssa's side was pretty heavy. So we had to make some tough cuts, some family cuts, some podcast cuts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no grand conspiracy aside from weddings are expensive and we had a limited thing. But
well, people were concerned.
I understand that, and I'm sorry to them. I'm sorry to you.
You should the Reddit
the next wedding. Everybody's coming. Absolutely. The next wedding, it's an only podcast bachelor party and only podcast wedding. Absolutely.
The Reddit thread, one guy was like, well, a guy, or I don't know if it's a guy or girl, whatever. It's like, well, he went to Elliott Shore Parks' wedding because somebody was like, Spike's too busy. And the guy was like, well, he went to Elliott's wedding. And he was like,
people tracking your wedding situation. I like it. I'm happy for you for that.
And then finally, this was a related one, so I might as well get to it here. 833 like face, and then we're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Gents, first time, long time. This is Mike. I got to tell you, not watching. 2 questions for you. First one, let's go non-basketball first, mostly because I understand the subject of this voicemail recently left you one as well, wondering about Mike's wedding and the lack of Spike. So this is a weird one, but I'm going to use this forum. It is a question, but I do want to ask my friend Chris, who's getting married in Jackson Hole in June, lifelong Sixers fan, how he is not going to include me as a groomsman in that wedding. I don't know if there's room. I'd love to be included.
Wow.
I had to ask, and I hope you guys will facilitate this. Second question, the basketball one. Can we just get Jimmy Butler back for James Harden after this season? He's the only dude who's ever actually motivated Joel to really want to get it done. James Harden is not that guy. James Harden, he's got a complex. I think he's embarrassed to lose, so he thinks not trying is less embarrassing somehow. But yeah, we need Jimmy. He motivates Joel. He's great. We blew it. Let's fix it.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
If Miami really flames out, that'd be interesting. I mean, I don't think they would do it, but it would be interesting if they think okay, we can salvage the last best years of Harden.
He would not mind being in Miami.
He wouldn't mind being in Miami. A sign and trade situation. I don't know if that all works out, but yeah, it's That'd be fun. It'd be fun to just bring Jimmy back. You would have to trade Tobias, it feels like, because I don't know that they would work out as teammates well. But Tobias has eaten so much shit over the years. He seems like he's just such a fucking team player. That would be fun. I think Joel would probably, if Harden really wants to go, I think Joel would probably like it, and it'd be funny to have him back. I like using our podcast as an extension of grievances for other weddings.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty nice. I wouldn't recommend negging your friends into making you a groomsman. I don't know if that's a healthy way to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
It's also
it's hard.
You know, for us, I was a groomsman to a couple people, and then it was like we're having a small wedding, so we didn't want to have like half the wedding party standing up like at the altar and stuff. And so I just, especially for out of town folks, like it's like, hey, I love you, you're great, but you don't have to worry about like getting the matching tux and stuff. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about the pictures. Just show up and have a good time.
You don't have to worry about going for some people.
Well, but he's still invited to that guy's wedding, though, isn't he?
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I would. Sometimes it's nice to not have to be a groomsman. Just show up, and then as long as you get to go to the bachelor party, if you're close.
Or if that guy has a podcast.
Yeah, podcast bachelor party. So
podcast
sign up. Maybe become like the T-shirt guy for that podcast, and then you could go to his bachelor party specifically for that podcast. Yeah.
Well, that's all we got. What is on that Friday night? Right? We play again Friday night. Is that the next game?
I thought it was tomorrow. No, it is. It's Friday night against the Blazers.
Yeah.
And then we have a podcast Saturday morning.
So vote.
Matisse back.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's funny. Every time he goes 3 of 5, I see a lot from 3. I see a lot of tweets. I don't see as many tweets when he goes 1 of 5. So
what's he shooting so far for Portland? He's shooting
I think
currently
probably
45%.
Yeah.
On 4.4 attempts per game. He's starting. He's getting over 30 minutes a game. I mean, it's going to go down. Like, no one's going to think he's going to shoot 45%, but I think there is some sense of just like he's getting more opportunity. He's allowed to be making mistakes. He's playing on a worse team that is allowing him to work through those mistakes.
Continue to make them, whatever.
And he's playing alongside Dame, who's obviously a very like special kind of gravity. That works better than like Joel's type of, post up at the nail and just stand there kind of thing. If you're one of the off guys.
Well, make no mistake, he had a lot of wide open fucking threes.
Of course. Oh no,
make.
for sure. But I think I do think there's something to be said for like his game doesn't because he's not like a technical offensive player. The rhythm of like flying around and like dribble handoffs and stuff with Dame might be more conducive to him like not thinking about it so much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just like sort of letting it fly. But obviously it's going to go down. But is it a home game? I think it is a home game.
Yes.
So we'll see. I think he'll get a good reception, and if he airballs a 3 or bricks it off the side of the backboard, then he'll get another reception.
We'll talk to you Saturday morning. That's it. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.